Welcome back to Eastern Illinois University. Jim Blaney along with Craig Virgin and Bob Lanigan. This is the start of our first event of the day, the 3,200-meter relay for Class A. And as you watch the runners head for the pole, let's take a very quick look at the field of teams in this event. The best qualifying time by Wheaton St. Francis at 8:01:30. And the other team you want to watch too is Eureka. They'll be running in the green uniforms. And those, at least for right now, two of the teams we're keying in on. The state record in this event in Class A, 7:54.2, set by Princeton back in 1981. So really in this first race, Craig, we have the first setting for the team battle that's going to go on all day in Class A with Wheaton St. Francis and Eureka qualifying for this event.
Absolutely. Now, the 4x800 relay wasn't always in the schedule through the century, and I think it's been one of the events that has been the most exciting for the crowd, don't you think?
Absolutely. This is a wonderful race, and a lot of things can happen during the course. That's Aaron Bolin, a senior from Freeburg. He has the lead, but running the opening leg for Eureka is Nate Smith, another senior, and Smith takes the lead. Eureka annual. They always have very good distance runners, and they're in somewhat the same spot that the York Dukes are in the AA meet, is that can you win a state championship when most of your guys are distance runners? It works against you simply because there's just more sprint events than there are distance events. It's not so hard.
And distance runners usually at most can only double, whereas your sprinters can triple and sometimes do 4 events, especially if they can do a long jump or triple jump also.
Well, Smith had jumped out to a lead of about 5 meters, but that gap has been closed. Running in second place right now from Westmont is Chris Manos. He's a senior. And now Manos has taken the lead. We've seen some very good distance programs out of Westmont in recent years. So running 1, 2, 3 right now. First is Westmont, second Eureka, third is Wheaton St. Francis as we get ready for the first exchange.
And we've got some movement into 4th place as well. I think we're going to have a new 2nd place leader.
With the baton for Westmont is senior Jason Sherrier. And boy, he's taken off around the first turn, and he's opened up about a 20-meter lead.
Well, the key thing here in the 800, if you get the baton behind, you do not want to spend all your energy in the first 200 meters. If you let your emotions rule at this point in time, you will pay a price dearly in the last 200 meters of this race.
It's so very hard to stay in control in this race because, of course, your initial reaction is just run as hard as you can, but that's not necessarily always the best thing to do. Now, Sherrier has opened up his lead even a little wider. I'd almost say now he's got it up to about 35, maybe even 40 meters. He's got a big lead as he comes around the turn and heads down the straightaway to hit the halfway point in this opening event of the second leg. It's the 3,200-meter relay.
The battle for second, you've got to be patient, but you can't let first place get too far away. They've got to look at drafting. I'm looking at the wind. We've got a wind out of the southwest today, which is whipping across the track, and will have an impact on whoever's in first place in that pack that's leading and having to break it.
Jason Sherrier of Westmont is running first. Pat Quinn, a sophomore from Wheaton St. Francis, is running second. Illinois Valley Central, Carl Ruthman, a sophomore with the baton, right now is running third. And really the entire pack has congregated around the second place position. That's where most of the runners are right now, but Sherrier continues to have a big lead, and he looks like, unless something goes terribly wrong here, he's going to hand up to Matt Forsley and give him a pretty big lead, but all of a sudden, Sherrier coming back to the pack.
Yeah, in first place, we're getting a little bit of heavy legs here. He spent it early, and I would be willing to bet that we're going to be down to less than 5 meters at the finish there.
Well, we may be down to less than 5 meters by the time the middle of the straightaway, Craig, the way this thing is going. Ferrier is fighting it coming down the front straightaway as he comes down to the last 100 meters. That's Pat Quinn.
He's going to get past.
Of Wheaton St. Francis running him down, and then on the outside running the second leg for Benton and putting on a nice kick is Greg Bauer, a sophomore. So as we make the exchange, it's Wheaton St. Francis, Benton, and then Eureka has now moved into third. Running leg number 3 for Eureka, with Trent Lehman, a senior. Now we've got ourselves a race.
Eureka did very well in cross country last fall, and they've got some of their cross country runners on this 4x800. I mean, if it wasn't for York's performance in the AA race, Eureka's team performance in the single A race was amazing. But when York put 5 people in the top 12, it was sort of untouchable.
Eureka third last fall in the 1999 state cross country championships, and of course they had the individual champion, Dustin Frankie. We'll see him coming up in a little bit. Frankie listed as an alternate on this relay team, but obviously when you want him to win the 1600 and the 3200, you're not going to send him out to run a half mile to get things going. Eureka has now taken the lead as we come down the front straightaway. Carrying the baton for Eureka, Trent Lehman. And then remember, this is leg number 3 of 4. So as we come across the start-finish line, Eureka first, Wheaton St. Francis second, Benton third, and Illinois Valley Central is fourth. Things have kind of settled down into this third leg, Craig, whereas we saw the big gap in leg number 2.
The amazing thing about this relay, Jim, is that there's so much, you can't ever really call a runaway because the gap can close so fast.
And it's starting to evolve more or less into a 2-person race right now, although I do have to say that it looks like Lehman's getting out just a little bit, and the 2 runners from Benton and Illinois Valley Central battling for 3rd and 4th right now. They kind of realize, you know what, Lehman's starting to get away a little bit. We better make a little bit of a move here.
Eureka has a comfortable lead, but at this point in time, I don't know who to call for second place, because at 120 meters into this race, I think there's going to be some changes before we get the stick away for the last time.
Lehman is going to hand off to Ryan Chapman. He was 6th in the cross-country championships last fall. Certainly a capable man to hand the baton to for the last 800 meters. Chapman now has the baton. He takes off for the final 800 meters. Eureka first, Wheaton St. Francis second, Benton third. That's your top 3 as we head into the final leg.
Eureka has a nice lead. It just depends on the quality and the health of their anchor runners here at this point in time, in terms of there's about almost 15 meters between first and second and third.
You know, oddly enough, Craig, as we mentioned, that Chapman finished 6th in the cross-country championships. The weather on the day of the cross-country championships, even though it was November, was somewhat similar to what it was today, warm and humid.
Yeah, Eureka actually was 1st in the team championships last fall with only 32 points. So they have some depth. I'd be willing to say that they're probably the favorite right now.
Where I made my mistake, Craig, is they were 3rd in the track meet last year. 3rd in the track meet, 1st in cross country. Although we've got a battle now, as closing the gap on 1st place is the anchor man for Wheaton St. Francis, Jack Blake, a senior.
Who's close enough to be in the hunt here.
Well, you know what? He's running into a good spot, and the spot I always like to be, just right behind the lead runner, so you can keep him in touch, and he's not really quite sure where you're at.
He needs to time this better. If I was him, I don't want to catch Eureka too soon. I'd rather come out of the turn, coming off of his shoulder into the home stretch, especially if he has the energy. At this point, he's almost committed. No, I think he's slowing down now. He's going to wait until the turn is over.
Well, if he's smart, Blake will just tuck right in there on Chapman's shoulder and try and get him coming off the turn. You see the unofficial time in the lower left-hand corner. The sun is shining on the scoreboard a bit. It may be a little bit hard to read, but I think you can make it out. Okay, here we come down the straightaway. 110 meters to go.
This is the moment of truth.
Ryan Chapman from Eureka running against Jack Blake for Wheaton St. Francis. They come down the straightaway, shoulder to shoulder.
Blake is edging ahead.
But can he hang on?
Oh, they're both tying.
Blake fighting it, and Wheaton St. Francis wins. Eureka is 2nd. We've got a good battle going on for 3rd place right now. Coming across in 3rd.
Illinois Valley Central, I believe.
IVC, and that's your top 3 in the unofficial time. 7:54. So that, and again, I want to caution everybody that last week when we were here for the girls' championships, the time was about 0.2 of a second off. If that time stands, it would be a single A record. But again, we'll hold off on it until we get the official time. The fact of the matter is this was just simply a marvelous race.
Both runners are straining. In the 800, if you've ever run it, you feel like a darn refrigerator is on your back in the last 50 meters. Look at their foot plant. You can try to see how their shoulders and neck and chin is going as to who's tying up the worst. They're just both muscling through fatigue and pain at this point and just praying that the finish line comes soon.
Well, I've said it before, I'll say it again. There's no more misnamed race than the 800-meter run. And there's 4 of them in this one because it is a sprint, and that's all there is to it. Okay, let's get ready now for the 3,200-meter relay for the AA schools. The defending champions in this race, they are back. Evanston Township, they will run on the outside of the first group all the way to the inside of the track.